guys? Welcome back to the Football Corner Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremiah Queen. And if you are new to the YouTube channel, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Also, click that notification bell so you can stay up to date when new videos drop on the channel. Also, if you listen to me on a podcast app like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google Podcasts, go subscribe to the podcast. So this episode won't be that long. This will be roughly a 5-minute episode. I just want to address the breaking news that happened over this past week, especially since this is a Saturday episode. A lot of the football games are going on. Kudos to the Bengals who beat the Vikings in overtime. Right now, the Colts and Steelers are playing. So I want to address the breaking news. And the breaking news is that the Chargers finally fired Brandon Staley. And this is a long time coming. The reason why Brandon Staley got fired was multiple reasons. And let's address the first reason. Decision making as a head coach. Game awareness. Now, if you're going to be a head coach in the NFL, you have to have good coaching management, and you have to have good game management, and you have to have good game awareness. And when I say about game awareness, go back to his rookie season. He had the opportunity to go to the playoffs when he played the Raiders. The Raiders and the Chargers went to overtime. If that game ended in a tie, you have the ability to go into the playoffs by default because both of y'all are because of the tie, and the Steelers don't get in. The Raiders admitted after the game that they were going to run the clock out because the way the game was going, no one really wanted to score. They didn't want to risk it, so they're going to run the clock out and get in a tie in which that both teams need to go to overtime. Brandon Staley calls a timeout, makes defensive adjustments, which insulted what the Raiders wanted to do. The Raiders run a play in order to get in a field goal range to go kick the field goal, and then the Chargers didn't go to the playoffs. And that year, Brandon Staley and the Chargers were 9-8. So you're like, okay, he had a pretty good season, made one bad mistake. Then we go to year two. Year two, they in the last game of the season. Keep in mind, the Chargers, this game meant nothing in terms of seeding. It meant nothing to give them a higher seed in the playoffs in the 2022 season. And unfortunately, Brandon Staley was like, I'm going to start my starters, which in what world are you starting your starters in a game that doesn't matter? Well, the only thing that matters is the risks that come from that game. And of course, Mike Williams gets injured in that game. And then so now you have no Mike Williams, which was your number 2 option. And then you go to across country to play the Jacksonville Jaguars. You're up 27 points. You're up 27 points, can't hold to the lead, score 3 points in the second half, and you blow a 27-point lead to lose to the Jaguars in regulation. The game didn't even go to overtime. It was in a regulation. You lost the game. This is what I mean by Brandon Staley not being aware of the situations and understanding what to do and what not to do. He was known for being a very aggressive head coach. He'd go for it on a 4th down on his own 48-yard line. He was very aggressive. And that's the identity of what the head coach is, which there's nothing wrong with that. I don't find anything wrong with that. But my issue is that if you're going to be a head coach and you're going to, let's say, if you're going to try to be in your team's best interest, don't make boneheaded decisions that could be avoided if you just play the smart play. And then we go to this year. This year was just the ultimate icing on the cake, the cherry on top, the cherry on the sundae, because Brandon Staley was unable to get this defense. And keep in mind, if you are a defensive coordinator turned to head coach, the one side of the football that should be good is the side of football that you coach prior to becoming a head coach. So whether you're an offensive-minded guy or a defensive-minded guy, at least that position will be actually good. And that's the problem with Brandon Staley. Their defense was never good. They had the highest defensive payroll. Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, at the time, J.C. Jackson. You had Derwin James. A number of players on that defense, and that defense was never good. It never showed up, or it never showed up at all. And this is why Brandon Staley was fired. And then what happened on Thursday Night Football in Week 15? You play the Raiders that scored 0 points. Yes, 0. 0 against the Vikings. And they put up 63 points in a football game. And most of Raiders history. Kudos to the Raiders. Shout out to the Raiders. And that's why he got fired. It was 42-0 at halftime. The team gave up on you. And what was apparent is that Justin Herbert has been dragging Brandon Staley along with him. Justin Herbert has been masking all the flaws that coaching has done to this team. And it starts It don't start with Brandon Staley. It starts with the GM. It starts with the coordinators. Kellen Moore needs to take some blame as well because you run the offense, and Brandon Staley's not an offensive-minded guy. He's a defensive-minded guy. So in the offseason, when the Chargers are looking forward to a new head coach, the new head coach will be – this is a job that coaches want. You get a star quarterback. You get pieces, good pieces, as in Keelan Allen, Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler still going to be there. You got pieces on the back end that are pretty decent pieces. And because they're going to lose out, they're going to have a top 10 pick in the draft. So not only do you get good pieces on offense and defense, and you get a top 10 pick on which you could trade back to get 2 first-round picks, the Chargers' job is looking really good. And Brandon Staley getting fired was inevitable. So thank you for watching and listening to the Football Corner podcast. If you like this video and want to see more content I do outside of the channel, you can hit me up on my social media pages at the Football Corner podcast on Instagram and TikTok. Thanks for watching and listening. See you next time.